Here are a couple of news stories you may have missed. Have you ever heard of Eurovision? Well, neither have I. I became aware of it this year thanks to the peaceful group notorious for making music festivals explosive. Basically, Eurovision is a global music contest for the low-budget Sam Smiths and Lil Nas X's of the world. It is the coming together of the queerest, gayest, and most provocative D-list pop stars across Europe and beyond. Yes, there may be a few exceptions of sanity who offer insufficient breeders to the contest, but they don't make the rule. The winner is often a forgettable name with a performance that only Beelzebub and Lucifer can appreciate. It is also a moment for Europe to remind itself of the artistic powerhouse that it used to be during the era of Beethoven. But now, the best they seem to offer the world these days is the generic overhyped pop sound of Ed Sheeran and the unpoetic drill sound of street music that defines the cultural enrichment that foreigners can offer. In Eurovision, the continent pretends to be in search of unconventional art, but they end up finding the screeching of witches. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is unenthused, repulsed, and mostly unaware because they have better things to do. But that last description isn't the case this year. This is the year of globalizing the Intifada and hating the Jews. And these days, the suitable thing to be at a music event is a peaceful Hamas fighter ready to liberate Palestine. The absurdity and irony are only a minor distraction to those fervently devoted to the stupidity of the watermelon gang. So, the perfect place to plead the cause of and terrorists at a music event is at another music event. Yes, 15,000 leftists gathered at the Eurovision venue to protest Israel because Sweden is now a fallen Islamic state. The mob wanted to explode because the only liberal democracy in the Middle East was allowed to compete. Even Greta the Great couldn't miss this opportunity because Hamas is obviously the definition of eco-friendliness. They are a resistance movement famous for making their oppressors biodegradable and unable to emit carbon dioxide. They are also fanatically dedicated to eradicating 15 million colonizing agents of carbon emission, a huge win for the environment. So her aggressive support for Hamas is a no-brainer. Palestinian liberation and depopulation are indeed synonymous. The mostly peaceful protest was like other mostly peaceful protests where breaking the law was done peacefully. It was the usual scene of inexperienced terrorists and audacious criminals trying to break into a music event. That's quite reminiscent of what happened on October 7. However, resistance is always justified when people are occupied, and the mere presence of an Israeli singer in a global music competition is the literal definition of occupation. Records show that 10,000 children starve to death for every second she spends on the Eurovision stage. Hearing her sing is the clearest manifestation of oppression, colonization, white supremacy, and genocide. Eurovision has become an absolute nightmare in 2024, but not for the number of demoniacs they have on stage. It has become a nightmare because it allowed a Jew to compete on its stage while children are starving to death in Gaza. It should be a Palestinian on that stage. They are well known for delivering slaying performances at music events, and their rooftop parties for gay people are drop dead amazing. They are the perfect definition of breathtaking. Eventually, Israel's Edin Golan got the majority of the votes, qualifying her for the final round. It looks like Hamas supporters are destined to end up like the chest-beating mullahs of Iran after April 13. Their attacks and antics are typically loud, numerous, and aggressive, yet pathetic, pointless, and impotent. It reminds me of Muhammad sleeping with multiple women, 11 in one night, yet unable to have a male child. But these protesters are not done. They are hopelessly relentless, and their next plan is to vote massively for Bambi Tog. That's one of the most outspoken anti-Israel contestants still in the music competition. The champion for all things woke. She's also one of the queers for Palestine, with a performance that can make Khomeini come out of the closet. And that was the last-ditch effort of the jobless leftists and Muslims eager to score a brownie point against Israel by supporting the gayest contestant in Eurovision 2024 who looks like the Joker and goes by Bambi Tog. Muslims like to claim that muta is haram, but what else explains their unholy matrimony with the gay community? But that pathetic attempt also failed. Bambi lost. She came in 6th place while Eden became the 4th runner-up. So essentially, Bambi Tog lost to Eden Golan. Even the queerest of them all couldn't free Palestine. What a shame. Muslims have had to get in bed with Shaitan himself to defeat the Yahud, and all they have to show for it is this roast. I've never seen a group so addicted to embarrassing defeat. Even the Gunners haven't seen this level of failure. Bambi Tog was as shocked as a child's reaction if they saw her clown makeup in the middle of the night. In a tearful rant, she played the rainbow victim card and expressed how horrible it is not to make it to the top 5. This is the meaning of oppression when a certified member of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community loses a competition. To be a winner in Eurovision, it used to be enough to be a horrible queer singer proudly cosplaying as Pennywise. But this year, Jews had to ruin everything, and Bambi Tog finally understood what it's like to be Farfor. But the Ummah can always find solace in the new wave of Western reverts who aren't a huge fan of wearing the hijab. Islam is the fastest growing religion among naive college students destined to become apostates in 6 months. By the way, do you still remember when Macklemore was a promising rap superstar destined for greatness? The fact that I was alive and aware of that era in hip-hop proves that I'm no longer getting younger. I feel old. The year Macklemore won his first and last Grammy was the same year Joe Biden was graciously hitting 25. It was also the same year Joe's uncle's plane was shut down and he got digested by imaginary cannibals in New Guinea. It was also the same year that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the second oldest president in Africa, graduated from the University of Chicago. But what happened to Macklemore? Well, he turned out to be a pretentious, narcissistic, attention-seeking moron. He won a Grammy he didn't deserve, sent an apology text to the person everyone thought deserved it, but that was not enough. An apology text is more effective when you make it public for the world to see. So he took a screenshot of the text and posted it on Twitter just like a normal human being is supposed to do. And thus the end of his career began. But apparently he is physically incapable of learning from his mistakes. That's why, in a desperate attempt to find relevance, he made a ridiculous rap song to show his support for the current thing. He could have taken the easier route of being a special guest at one of P. Diddy's interesting parties, but as a white man with honor and dignity and integrity, he decided that sucking Ismail Haniya's balls was better. The goal of his new song was to fit as many pro-Hamas buzzwords and chants in a 3-minute rap. The lyrics read like something a blue-haired communist from Columbia University would write as their dissertation. The song is bland, horrible, and unoriginal. It's just wokeness on the beat. It makes Ben Shapiro sound like Tupac. Tumaj Salehi was on death row for rapping against the Islamic Republic's treatment of women, and Macklemore is silent. The mullahs are beating women to death and locking them up for not wearing the hijab, and Macklemore isn't inspired. Boko Haram is running wild, kidnapping 300 more women in northeast Nigeria, and Macklemore isn't alarmed. But Jewish women were raped and killed in a music festival, and now Macklemore can't wait to call for a ceasefire. That's actually on brand for him, considering his taste in fashion. He likes his clothes with a touch of anti-Semitism. He's not anti-Jewish, okay? He's just anti-Zionist. And obviously, his idea of creativity is repeating cliches. He even thinks it is still trendy to say F the police at a time when even black people are asking for more police. Macklemore is more out of touch than the 80-year-old leader of the free world who is in the first stage of dementia, and he desperately wants validation from the likes of a politician's daughter cosplaying as a homeless terrorist. But make no mistake, he is speaking truth to power by calling the most pro-Palestine US president Genocide Joe. You know you are against the system when your political views align perfectly with those of the mullahs in Iran. The next time they beat their chest in the streets, maybe they will play your thought-provoking music in the background. Children are dying in Gaza, but that's not the fault of Hamas that has gone to great lengths to endanger Palestinians. They may use their population as human shields, but that's justified in the fight to liberate the same population. The opening scene of the music video accompanying this song tells you all you need to know about the song. It features gravity that makes the speechwriters of Kamala Harris look like Ernest Hemingway and Robert Frost. Also, the proceeds of this song, if any, will go towards funding UNRWA, an organization dedicated to funding Hamas. And why not? Nothing dismantles white supremacy more than funding a group complicit in the kidnapping of babies. As an altruistic white man committed to combating white supremacy and colonialism, that's the least he can do. But I'm not bothered. Me talking about this song is probably the most attention it will ever get. And he dropped it at a perfect time when the world have better things to listen to. Thanks to Drake and Kendrick Lamar, the whole world is creep walking to a song about PDF files. Say what you want about the rap beef, but all the songs have the level of artistry that Macklemore can only dream of. The only people still listening to Heights Hall are the 14 people still watching CNN.